So I was looking through our old thread of how we met, and I don't know if you remember Greg Wester.
Yeah, I
Tesla
love
Bear,
Greg.
Tesla Bull went Tesla Bear. I mean, I don't even know where his stance is today, but
What
he
happened
had
to Greg? Where is he?
I don't think he made it tonight. But yeah, I don't even know if he's a
I've
Tesla
met him
fan
in real
anymore.
life. I well, he had, see, I met him in real life, so we talked, and he had some other issues with Tesla outside of Tesla that were not relevant to Tesla stock, from his work. So I don't know how he feels right now, good or bad.
Yeah, you should check
But I
out those
like Greg.
tweets. I like Greg too. I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't.
we actually
You know,
worked
you
at.
know how Twitter works is it only feeds you the tweets you want to see. It's like the feedback loop. It's like I don't see those people anymore. I thought all of Tesla Q is dead. I thought they all died. Like, it doesn't feed me any of it anymore. I don't know.
Well, if you follow him, you'll get some of that. That's kind of the route he's kind of gone.
Listen, I
uh,
can see being a Tesla hater. I mean, God, what are they doing? They're making amazing cars. They suck.
Totally. Well, cool. So I think so I
I was
gave the
just
intro.
actually, I was just driving down PCH with the windows down, and the ocean is so beautiful, and this electric car is revolutionary, and you see all these gas fucking cars polluting my beach and polluting the air. You talk about air quality. The economy comes back, and the air quality just goes to shit. And I'm like, every car needs to be electric. Like, I don't understand what the debate is.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Well, I think let's get into it. So I think if we step back, we want to know a little bit more about, how you started in investing. Like, what's the story there? I think again, you had a kind of a music background and then you jumped into investing. So can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I mean, I was kind of good at two things. That's it. And one was music, and I've always played music my whole life, and I play guitar. And the other was picking stocks for some reason, and I think it's genetic, because my great grandfather, the picture on my Zoom is actually my great great grandfather, who I actually have a picture of, who's from like Poland or something, and that was then, and he was smart enough to get the hell out of there, and then so my great grandfather was an investor through the Great Depression and into the 50s, and made a bunch of money after post World War II. He lost everything, Great Depression. He invested in stocks in the 50s, and my grandfather inherited some of that money, more than a ton of money, but it was money. And so as a kid, I would see my grandfather, in his desk, with these papers. So, I'd mess with him, and he said, "Don't mess with these papers." So of course I needed to know immediately what those were. They were stock certificates, and he used to get these checks. So the old days, you'd get a check in the mail for your dividends, and you never had a brokerage firm because nobody trusted brokerage firms. And I was like, wow, this is great. Grandpa gets to, sail around. He gets these checks in the mail. He doesn't have to work. And my dad, who's a dentist, is working his ass off, Like, I think I'd rather be grandpa, so I should learn this. And then my mom, when I was in high school, I worked as a waiter, and I was delivering pizzas for this guy, George Santapietro, which I could tell you stories about that for a long time. It was my first brush with the mafia. No, and so I was making cash. I was making money, and my mom said, "You should invest it." So she showed me in the paper how to follow stocks, and we bought Disney stock, and I would watch my stock go up, and then it split 4-for-1. This was in the 80s, and I was sold. I was like, wow, this is so much easier than working. I'm not really a big fan of the concept of working for an hourly wage. Like, obviously most people do that, but you can't gain wealth that way. Like, nobody's getting rich, getting paid by the hour. You have to invest. So I figured that out at a young age. I was lucky enough. And then my coach was a stockbroker in baseball. I was a baseball player in high school. And I thought he was the coolest guy I knew, because he could coach high school baseball. He would work till 1 and then come coach baseball. And he had this girlfriend. He had like a Camaro or something. And I was like, I want to do that, But then I played music, and I was doing that. I went to University of Pennsylvania, and I studied at Wharton for a certain amount of time, and then I realized that that was a horrible place. And it wasn't a horrible place. It was not what my values didn't align very well. I took corporate ethics. It was actually during a corporate ethics class that I realized I was in the wrong place at Wharton. I got an A. And I think I was the only guy in the class who got an A, because I realized everything in these case studies was real bad, like it was real bad stuff. But all the other students were trying to defend management, and I never understood why they were so bad. And so when I got out of college, I had to make a decision of whether to be poor and a musician, or try to get into some sort of the securities industry. So I tried the musician route first. And I worked in the entertainment industry. And so 6 months in the music industry, and I was like, this is the worst job on earth, on top of Napster. So it was 94, Napster came around. Nobody got it. I was sitting at Atlantic Records, and they didn't get it. I said, I play music, I read and write music. Things are changing. And they're like, we don't play music, we don't read and write music, but we know what the hits are. And I said, well, you don't need to know what the hits are. What you need to worry about is Napster. And that's when I decided I was not going to be in the entertainment industry. And so I saw that so I have this theory in life that technology is the best thing to invest in. Okay. So like the only thing America's good at is really technology, and we're really good at music and entertainment, but we're not really good at a lot of other things. We're not the best at manufacturing. We're not the best at really a lot of things. And that's why we buy so many foreign products, because they're real good at making stuff cheap. But we're really, really good at technology. We have innovation. We've innovated so many things that have changed the world in the 3 decades I've been a professional investor. And each decade I've always focused on a different theme. So when I started in the business, the theme was the PC. So I got to work in the securities industry, and nobody had a computer. Okay. I had a computer. Now this was a revolution. I walked in with a laptop, 23. It was like 94, 95. And they had a typewriter still. And we would fill out, like, every trade, you call a trade, you wrote a piece of paper. I bought 100 shares of Apple, and then you'd send it to your branch manager. He would sign the piece of paper. You call the desk, I want 100 shares of Apple. That's how I started my career. And I can work the phone. So, like, I can work trades through a desk. Like, people are making fun of me on Twitter because I said, how hard I bang people on bot desks, like, to get trades done, but I get trades done, and so in 94, I realized everybody was going to have a computer, everybody. And AOL came out, and AOL I thought was the best thing ever. I was lucky enough to have a computer when I was a kid. So I had an Apple when I was a kid. So I was on bulletin boards. And so when AOL came out, I was like, no brainer. So I invested in AOL, Dell, and Gateway, and and then I got in the business, and I convinced a lot of other people to do this, and it worked out pretty well for 5 years. So it was the first 5 years of my career were like a dream. It was like a funny dream that I think about all the time, how good it was. The market went up, I think, every month for 5 years. Now think about that. Okay,
That's crazy.
Like now I'm up to almost 4 billion. And if the market went up 5 years in a row, 20% a year, I would like go nuts, like, so that was how I was lucky enough to start my career. And so if I wasn't convinced that technology was the place to invest, it certainly reinforced it. I was lucky enough to make a substantial amount of money, and then lose a good chunk of it by the time I was 30. And so when the correction happened in 2000, I was actually expecting it. It was ridiculous because everybody was scared of Y2K, but the NASDAQ doubled in 99. In 99, this last 6 months of 99, the NASDAQ doubled. Now think about that. Imagine if the market doubled in the next 6 months. Okay, that's a bubble. So when the declines happened, I was expecting it, and we were, we lost money, but it was fine. And then 9/11 came, and that we didn't expect. And that was like the pandemic, where our whole world changed. And so now I'm an investor in the worst 10-year period in American history. So from 2000 to 2010, that decade was the most difficult to be an investor in American history, worse than the Great Depression.
Yeah.
Thank you, George Bush. So I managed to learn my second lesson as an investor, which is how not to lose all your money, because losing all your money is, I wouldn't be talking to you today. And fortunately, still technology and innovation went on during that decade. And that was the decade that Google rose, and the internet really built out, and mobility. So we invested in cell phones, cell phone towers, Apple, so in the 2000 era was when I made my first big investment in Apple. And that was my first real like long-term score. So I put a lot of money in Apple in 2000. They had that iPod Nano is what sold me. I had no idea about an iPhone. And I bought a lot of Apple for my clients and for myself, and Apple and Steve Jobs to me was like Elon today. I knew, and so through the 2000s, I outperformed the market and did very well. I led by technology in Apple, and the cell phone era. We invested in, cell phone towers, which we still have big investments in, that grew like crazy. Infrastructure, the T-Mobiles of the world, and then the last decade, which really was the internet, Facebook, and social media. And so now we enter this decade, which is why you're all here, is because I'm going to tell you exactly how you're going to make a fucking fortune, because Elon's already laid out the path for the next decade. And if you have any doubt from a business leader perspective, like if you compare like the top 20 business leaders in America in innovation, I would argue that the 17 of them aren't really that innovative. So like we look at like stocks like in companies like NVIDIA, have the kind of innovation as Tesla. We look at Tesla as one of the most innovative companies of all time. And so when you think about the next decade, like what are the themes? So if it was PCs and if it was cell phones and if it was social media, like what's the 2010s? It's climate change and dealing with rebuilding our infrastructure around electric vehicles and rebuilding our infrastructure away from oil, because otherwise we're all going to be dead at the end of this decade. Well, maybe not dead, but our lives will be severely impacted on an annual basis because of this problem. So I'm here to tell you that the solutions exist. Today, because of Elon Musk and others, the solutions exist. And we have to invest in these solutions if we want them to have the capital to grow and create opportunities. Tesla is the tip of the sword. And what we saw in the last year and a half was the last desperate attempt from oil and big auto and the infrastructure that built America to stay relevant as we switch to a more modern electric era that's built around technology and efficiency of energy versus just the outright like burning of it all. So to sum up my investment career, I started my firm in 2010 because the firm I was with was a bricks and mortar firm. We had 15 offices and we did things the old fashioned way. And when the financial crisis came, I realized that all these brands, Merrill Lynch, nobody cared anymore. And we decided to build a firm around being digital and having one office and using mobility to serve clients all over the country and using media to reach clients all over the country. And now we're one of the biggest and probably one of the fastest growing firms in the country. And we have 35 employees. And we seek to give investors of any wealth level the opportunity to take advantage of the amazing growth potential in the stock market. And we're one of the last firms that invest in individual stocks, and our performance has been unbelievable. And, I don't quote performance numbers because we don't, follow the auditing rules. So I'm not allowed to like tell you what we've done, but you can figure it out on there's websites that figure this stuff out from our filings. And this year has been the largest outperformance we have ever had. And it's because of Tesla and other companies too. We're heavily invested in video game, that industry that's done very well. But like this year was the year, this has been the best year of my career. And if you would have told me that in March, I would have said this is the worst year of my career. So in the last 6 months, what's happened with Tesla, what's happened with clean energy, what's happened with technology, and how the stock market has ultimately come back, has been incredibly, beneficial ultimately from where I thought I was, going to go into another, Great Depression, which is pretty much where I thought I was in March. So I'm still incredibly conservative. I have half my money out of the stock market right now. If you have any doubt that Donald Trump is the worst thing for this country, I think he's made it perfectly clear now. And this isn't a political thing. I'm talking from an economic perspective. We have the worst economy we've had since the Great Recession. We have the worst unemployment. We have neighborhoods in LA that are just filled with homeless people, where I used to live in Venice. I mean, just streets full of people living on the street. We have a wealth inequality that's unacceptable. I mean, an unacceptable level of inequality, and no desire to resolve it. We have policies that are basically, around printing money to make up for any sort of fiscal responsibility. And so we're in a lot of risk right now, whether people realize it or not, because America is going to run out of ability to borrow. Not, everybody's always worried about the wrong thing. It's kind of the problem. So, they'll give us money at 0%. And I was like, well, you're forgetting something. These bonds mature. And none of these bonds are 30-year bonds. These are 5-year bonds they sell. These are 10-year bonds they sell at most. But most of the debt that is owed in America matures soon. And when the economy comes back, interest rates will be 2% again. And when that happens again, we're going to have to pay 2% on this 25 trillion and counting, and more ultimately of our livelihoods are going to be paying for the debts of the past. And that's really the reality we face if we don't get the world under control. So I'm incredibly conservative right now. I feel like there's solutions for coronavirus that we aren't employing right now. And I feel that we can fix the economy in the next year if the right solutions are put in place. And I think that clearly Joe Biden's the person to put these solutions in place. I don't think Trump is going to put any solution in place to solve coronavirus, and therefore the economy will suffer greatly for a long period of time if he continues with these policies. And I'm not saying this on a political level. I'm just saying, economically speaking, with half the restaurants in America closing and the airlines laying off and the hotels laying off, the casinos laying off, this cost is huge, and we have to solve it. And now the person has the disease, and it is still not in his priorities to solve it. But boy, pandemics suck. They really suck. So from an investment perspective, we're going to get an opportunity. And that's what the positive of it is, that in the next 6 months, we're going to have an opportunity. The markets will be cheaper, and we'll have an opportunity to buy companies in these sectors that will grow, like Tesla in EV and clean energy. And I think the following 5 years with a Biden win could be wonderful for advancing EV technology and green energy and getting the types of government support for the investments that we're making right now, betting on a green future.
Totally. So I think going to clean energy and just EVs in general, how did you originally, you talked about, obviously Elon has, he's pretty much laid out the 10-year forecast, the 10-year plan. How did you originally hear about it? And then when did you kind of become like such a Tesla bull like you are today? And obviously very vocal about all over the news, whether it's CNBC, Fox Business News, pretty much everything. So what kind of grew this love for Tesla? Not only its mission, but just
I hate Tesla. What are you talking about? Tesla's put me through fucking hell. Like I only love Tesla now. It's paid off. I own 20 companies, and Tesla's been the hardest money I've had to make. I don't love them at all. I for a long time I hated them. I felt like they were working against the mission, and I had a talk with Elon personally about it last year, and I don't know if he cares a fuck about what I say at all, but he was listening, and And a lot of things changed after many conversations I had with management about what was happening. And I don't know if I have anything to do with it, but I certainly had the conversations. So what it was when I invested in 2013, I think it was, when the Model S came out. I just thought it was a great car. You know, it was an electric car. It was a great car. So I said, if they could build a car as good as other cars and it's electric, it seems like a no-brainer. And so when the Model S came out and we drove it, and I was like, who wouldn't buy this car? So we invested in Tesla. It was about $35 a share. Now it's split. So I don't know, was that $7 now? So it was about $7 when we started buying Tesla, and it paid off for us right away because the Model S was successful and the stock went at the time from like 35 to like 180, and it like jumped. I remember the day, and we sold, you know, like if you knew how much Tesla I sold at 180, you guys would be like, you're the dumbest guy I've ever met. But that's the way, you know, that's the way we manage money. And I made 2 or 3 times my money within a year or two. So we sold half of it. And that's what we do. It turned out the stock kind of had stayed in that range for 3 or 4 years. So it actually didn't matter at the time because we obviously reinvest our profits to other growth investments and make returns there. But what happens is as we get more clients, we invest more money in each company. And as my company grew, and Tesla's a core holding, so our core 20 holdings everybody gets, Tesla becomes a bigger and bigger position. And if the positions perform, they become bigger and bigger positions. And then we care more. But what it was with Tesla was when the model, so I got the mission. We're going to make expensive cars to then make a mass-produced car. And the real win is making a mass-produced car. So when the Model 3 was coming out, I wrongfully assumed that they wouldn't have problems building it because they fucked up the Model X so badly that I thought Elon had like learned his lesson, you know, like building wing doors, you know, like it's still the dumbest he'll tell you this. It's the dumbest thing they've ever done. And I don't even think, I don't want to talk about the X. It sucked. The car is a beautiful car, but building it was like, why? You know, why make it this hard? And actually, that's why it's called the Model Y, right? You know, because it's like, why? Why did we make it so hard? The Model Y is actually the perfect car. And so I assumed the Model 3 launch wouldn't be that bad, wrongfully. And I think this was 2017 when they were ramping up production. And I think I got mine in 2018. So it was like early 2018 when they started producing, and then like shit didn't work. Like, so they couldn't scale the company. That was what happened. So Elon had this fantasy that robots would build the Model 3, and it just wasn't a reality, and they couldn't scale. So actually Jerome Guillion came in, and he's the guy who saved Tesla. And I've talked about this in the past, the story, and it's amazing. Jerome is really the guy who saved Tesla, and Elon was really kind of the guy who was about to kill Tesla with this robotics factory he thought he was going to build. And Jerome's like, I build trucks. You bring in the humans, put them in a tent, and build the damn cars like car makers build. And that worked. They got production up. I think it was 5,000 cars a week was what they were, or a month was what they were trying to do. And they're like, we're trying to ramp, and it was a disaster. But the stock held up in 2018. So it was weird when things were really bad at production, the stock held up, and we kept investing, you know, because we're like, oh, you know, like we solved it. So when 2019 rolled around, I didn't expect to get killed at all. Like I thought Tesla was starting to do well, and they were starting to do well, but the FUD attack started, and that's when Elon went off the hinges, and the funding secured crap, and then, you know, the SEC, the pedo guy, and the SEC, and it's because he was working 24 hours a day. So Elon works 24 hours a day. I don't know if you guys know that, but he does. He's not normal, and so he was losing his mind because there was so much pressure. And Tesla went to 175, and it was brutal for me because we were in at like 265 average cost. we were now in a really tough position, and everybody's like, oh, you're the Tesla guy. And I'm like, dude, I'm also the Apple guy. You guys don't talk about that anymore, And, but then it got personal. Irrelevant of Tesla, I can't stand the oil industry. I can't stand people who, after making billions of dollars, still it isn't enough. And they just have to destroy everything. It's like the opioid companies, like these opioid companies. It didn't matter how much opioids they sold to people. They killed thousands, including one of my friends, a good friend. And dude, it's like, how much money is enough? And they're finally getting ours. And now they're trying to bury Tesla. So like the Tesla Q people started really pissing me off, because what they were doing was just, it was like out of the Billions playbook, where they just like make up shit. So what happened was, I went to Tesla. That was when I was like, okay, I can't take this anymore. I'm hiding in my office. This will be the scene in the movie, like in The Big Short. I was hiding in my office. Even my team was like, Elon sucks, and I was like, he's on drugs. I don't know. What do you want me to tell you? He's making a great car. And I go back in my office and hide. The stock went down more. So one of the secrets to being a great investor is working harder than other people, knowing more than what the people know. And so I put an effort into knowing what we know. So there's very few people who know more about Tesla than me. Okay. And right now, I would argue there is probably less than amount of people on a hand that know as much about Tesla than me. And it's because Elon's been kind enough to show me everything. And that's what they did before. So they decided, I don't know why they chose me. They were just going to show me everything. Maybe because I was the only one who really wanted to know and who wasn't against the company. And so I went there. And I told Martin, who's head of IR, I want to meet everybody. Even Elon, if he's around. He's like, oh, Elon's not around. Okay, everybody else. And they walked me through this whole factory, and my wife, all day long. And I met with everybody, and we talked about everything, and they were open as could be. And I'm walking around this place going, this is the coolest place I've ever seen. What? I don't get it. And I got back, and then I went to, I think it was Model Y launch, and then I went to Autonomy Day, and I was the first person to full self-driving Tesla. And I was like, it drives on its own. This is pretty good. And it does. It does drive on its own. And it will drive on its own very soon. And, oh, he said it would be done by March. It's like, fuck off, You build a self-driving fucking car, okay? It's not that easy. It's really hard. Like, people don't understand how hard it is to do this. Oh, like Russ Mitchell at the LA Times. Oh, Elon, he's the king of breaking promises. And I was like, dude, he's also met every goal at some point, okay? So, like, from now on, when he says February, who cares? He's going to make that goal. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's February. He's going to make the goal. That's what he's proven. So then I talked to Elon. We had a talk about Twitter and his bullshit. And I decided I was going to help Tesla. And I started writing Tesla letters every time they did something stupid. And I was like, this is not the way to do this. Let me re-explain to you how you should handle this. And it's so funny because they fired the PR department. That was like some sort of news. And I was like, there is no PR department at Tesla. Like, you know that, right? Like, I'm the fucking PR department at Tesla. Okay, there's no public relations. They don't give a shit about the media. It was like Battery Day was the best. I go to Battery Day and they give me front row center. Like, I literally was front row center. And I was like, Elon, you're such a character. There's no media. Like, it's bloggers, it's Galley, it's like you guys, because he knows we're better than the media. Nobody gives a shit about the media, right? So, like, he brings all the people who, like, matter, right? And so what's the response? Oh, we don't understand, so on and so forth. So Tesla has been a very painful investment until recently. And now it's paid off. So everybody goes, oh, you're so smart. And it's like, yeah, you didn't tell me that last year. Last year I was the dumbest guy on Wall Street, right? Even though I'm not on Wall Street.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think
so I'm glad it's paid off.
Well, congratulations on that. I mean, hopefully it cheers to you this year.
Well,
right?
we made I don't know, 60, 70 million on Tesla this year,
Yeah.
So that's like real money, on like 7 million, you know what I mean? So,
yeah,
and that's just what we currently have. We've sold a lot already too. So it's just, it's paid off.
Yeah, totally. I think, it's interesting that you made a lot of those comments about just the media, but I think kind of getting back to the ICE cars, like what is your outlook on, the future for ICE cars? And for people that don't know what ICE means, it's internal combustion engine, right? So what's your outlook? Obviously CA, Newsom just announced by 2035, like everything needs to be electric. And then obviously Europe is like, they're the leaders in this. But what is your kind of like future outlook?
Who's going to make all these cars?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love to tell you ICE cars are going to be gone. I mean, in theory, they're all dead. Like investing in GM and Ford, you might as well burn your money. But the reality is that we haven't won the battle. The battle hasn't been won. If you actually, the Mercedes guy the other day, I think it was yesterday or something, was giving some speech, and he's still, these companies need to say, we're all in, on EVs. Like Porsche, for example, the Taycan sold more than the 911 this last quarter, and it was like 2,000 units. Okay, like, wow, that's a day of Tesla sales. You know what I mean? And so it's like, the Taycan is the #1 selling Porsche right now. But has Porsche said, fuck it, we're electrifying everything and we're getting rid of ICE vehicles? No. But if they did, now I went to Lucid, and Lucid's going to put Porsche out of business. That's what Lucid is. Lucid is Porsche. It's just an EV company. Rivian is GM. It's just an EV company. All these companies are gone. They're gone. Now, people go, Ross, what the fuck, blah, blah, blah. I go, have you heard of General Electric? Now, when I was in the 80s, General Electric was the strongest, biggest company in the world. If you didn't invest in GE in 1985, you were stupid. Okay? Now, GE today is a $6 stock. Okay? $6. So don't tell me GM and Ford, which aren't even half as good as GE, aren't going to be gone. Okay? They're gone. Gone. Already done. But investing is about earnings going up. So if your earnings aren't going up, your stock can't go up. It just can't go up. So it doesn't matter how many ICE cars they sell. If it's not more ICE cars, stocks can't go up. Okay? It's going to be less. Okay? Nicola, I don't even want to talk about Nicola because they don't deserve airtime. But I think that I know it's like the easiest fraud I've ever spotted. And so like, I know it's like one conversation with Trevor, and he's bragging that he has a GED. Now this is a guy who's saying he's inventing technology, but he's never been to school ever in his life. But he's inventing hydrogen technology. It's a miracle. Even Jesus couldn't do that. So like, where were we? So going back to like this ICE world with oil,
Yep.
It's done.
Yeah.
So the question is, we don't have enough EV cars to have only EV cars in California in 2035. Like Elon is very clear. They want to make 20 million cars a year. And right now they have the capacity to make 2. Okay. So like Tesla with all the gigafactories running, or whatever we're going to call them, terafactories now, with all the terafactories running, they'll make 2 million cars a year in the next 5 years, let's say, or less. Okay. So how do they get to 20 million? People are like, we want a terafactory in Australia. Okay. How about India? Okay. And like, there's going to have to be a lot of them. Okay. Now they're getting real good at building these things. They're building them in like 2 years or less, right? The guy next door has been building his house for 5 fucking years. You know what I mean? It's like they could build a terafactory in 2. So Tesla's really good. I actually met the head of construction at Tesla. There's actually a division like Tesla Construction. Would make sense.
Awesome.
That's why they're good at it. They actually turned out had a whole other factory they didn't tell anybody about, called a cell production factory. So the cell production factory, the reinvention of the battery, is what's really going to kill ICE. That's what it was. So this part of Tesla isn't proven yet. It's not. So I saw it all. It's going to kill them all. Because if your cost of production goes down 7 times on the battery, you can lower your price. That's why I put the $25,000 car. And you know what that car was? It's the Model 3. Okay. That's why he didn't show you a design, because essentially he's just going to take the Model 3 and the Model Y and make some sort of local version in Europe and China that's smaller. $25,000, 600 miles. You use a little battery pack with the big cells. Oh, it's a gold mine. That's 2 to 3 years from now. So they will achieve this. So the cell factory blew my mind. So let's go to another questions, because I can talk if you want. We have 15 minutes, so I want to
totally.
get to.
Well, we'll hit this one, and then I want to open. I'll pass it to Kelvin for some Q&A because people have been asking questions. What other companies have accomplished what Tesla has? Like, what other Tesla-esque type of companies have you seen over your career?
Very few. Very, very few. That's why you have to ride these things. Okay. So as I said, I built a lot of my wealth and career on Apple. Okay. It's been an amazing company for 20 years, and I'm sad to say it's not the same company anymore. It's a $2 trillion company, boring. So no, you have to, I have a lot of money in Tesla personally, and I have a balanced portfolio, and I highly recommend having diversification in your portfolio. But many of the Tesla people I meet are 100% invested in Tesla. And now I don't think that's per se dumb, although I wouldn't recommend it as a financial advisor. And I do believe in diversification, and it doesn't hurt. But to have a big, meaningful investment in Tesla, that's how you build wealth. So over diversification doesn't help you. And so, as I said, like when I look at NVIDIA, I see the type of innovation that is going on at Tesla, and they've become like the Intel of our generation. And honestly, Microsoft is such a well-run company. It's not as innovative per se, but boy, they're doing great. But I look at things like even Amazon. I think the innovation curve has slowed dramatically. I think, I'm not that in love with them. So it takes a long time to find so actually what I actually believe is Elon, and I've spent a little time with Elon, very little. I think he's like the innovator of our time. So like when I was a kid and Kobe, like Kobe, I met Kobe once, and when he was young, I was young too. And he was working out at my gym, and we talked for like 10 minutes, and I was like, this guy is going to be he's going to be a star. He knew he was like Kobe was like, I'm going to kill it, and I was like, yeah, you're going to kill it. You're right. He had a great career. Rest in peace, Kobe. But like you get a Kobe, like LeBron is not Kobe. I like LeBron. He's not Kobe. He's not Jordan. He's not Shaq. He's a great player. He's one of the best players of all time, but he's not Kobe. And it's like, so when you have these things, you just have to ride it, good and bad, because he did almost kill me last year. But I'll ride this for another decade. Makes my job easy. Actually, why do I need to waste my time searching through? How many financial reports I read? It's like, oh my God, you could die. You wouldn't want my life on a Saturday. It's like I'm reading DraftKings S1 last night, seeing how much money they're fleecing people, and I'm like, man, I wish I was founded DraftKings, man. These guys just cashed out, and they haven't even done anything. Yeah, it's like Nikola,
Yeah.
I'm doing something wrong. I should start a SPAC, or something. I'm too nice.
Well, good.
Next.
So I'm gonna kick it off to Kelvin, who's gonna just he's been taking some of the questions, but I told him to just pick the most relevant questions for like the last 15 minutes, and then we want to leave a couple minutes for you to kind of just give us how we
I want to
can.
tell you some of the stuff that I saw, because this is where the investment opportunity is. And, I don't know how many of you are my clients, so probably none. You should be, but I'm happy to help.
Yeah, and we obviously want to give you a moment to tell us how we can get connected. So Kelvin, you want to go?
Yeah, thanks. And Ross, thanks for your time. A lot of questions coming in. Probably won't get a chance to get through all of them, but maybe we can go through a lightning round. Ironically, I was going to ask you the same question that you hinted at. With your unique knowledge of Tesla, which is the most underappreciated facet of the company?
This part, the battery, I didn't even know it existed. Okay, so I'm not really that into electricity, and batteries and shit. I'm a musician, so I'm into making music and creative in a different way. Engineers are creative in another way. My brain doesn't actually work that way, but my stepfather does. So I've met a lot of engineers recently, because when I realized I was going to have to go to Battery Day and I don't know that much, I have to educate myself. And I was lucky enough, Gally set me up with this wonderful guy from Tesla Battery, who doesn't work there anymore, who's a genius, who helped explain a lot of it to me, and especially the relevant points. And then by the time I was done with my tour, I've learned a lot now about how batteries work. But what blew my mind was I didn't know they were doing this. I am so focused on, can they make a battery pack, get it in a car and sell it, and how do I get to 2 million cars? I never thought they were going to reinvent a cell. It would make more sense to just make cells themselves. So that's what I kind of thought they were going to do. It's just vertically integrate and make 2170 cells or whatever. But they didn't do that. They started over. They just started over, from scratch, and built a better battery. And implications of this are not easy to understand, because they're so big. And that's why I say he's the inventor of our time. The media, people don't understand this. He's invented a new battery that's 7 times better. Now, my iPhone will die today, and yours will too, because Apple hasn't spent $1 trying to figure out how to make a better battery. Okay? But they put them in 250 million phones a year. It's amazing. But Tesla invented a better battery, and that's the game changer. So that's the part of Tesla that I didn't really understand or know. And now that I'm starting to fully understand its implications, actually the car part is really a byproduct of what they really are doing.
Right. What are your thoughts on the bullish thesis from ARK Invest on the $7,000 per share stock price?
I had recently 2 meetings with ARK, and I was lucky enough to have a whole thing with the head of ARK investing, and we're doing some stuff together now, because I think they have some of the smartest people in the world. Okay, so ARK's philosophy is just hire the super smart people in each industry, and then just invest in these forward-thinking industries, very much similar to mine. They are different than we're financial advisors, so we're a little bit different because we're providing financial advice to people, and they're really focused on the research and building products that we can use and do use. But I find long-term price targets and theses to be a waste of energy. The world changes very quickly. Pandemics come, and nothing that you think in 5 years will be what it will be. So for me to put a long-term price target on Tesla, I think is foolish. A, because you could be wrong on the low side, or you could be wrong on the high side. But there's so many things that can happen that are non-quantifiable, like if Elon dies in a car accident, that, you could say, oh, that can't happen. It happens. Shit happens. So I don't what I try to understand is what's Tesla worth today? What's the market ascribing its value? And is it a time for me to buy the stock, sell the stock, or hold the stock based off what the market thinks Tesla is worth today? And what it'll be worth in 5 years will probably be greater than today, assuming all that we know. But I can't tell you. So they come up with these numbers. I think they're completely arbitrary. You know, it's fine. Somebody's got to do it.
So let's talk about the investment horizon. How long of an investment horizon should one have on holding Tesla for? So this particular member, he's 63 and he wants to know when he should cash out and enjoy the cash.
So, yeah, we've sold a lot for our 63-year-olds that had heavy positions because, you know, exactly, you should enjoy some of the money. But that being said, so my job is really, so think about this from an investment perspective. If I make an investment for $50,000 today, and let's say I'm 50, and now I'm 80, 30 years from now, and maybe I've sold a few shares along the way, but I've kept my position. And now that position is 20 or 30x, and I die, and I give it to my kids. You know what happens? You get a step up on the cost basis. That's how you get fucking rich. That's how you are wealthy. Every wealthy investor I work with has cost bases that are so low. It's like crazy. Like they invested in Intel 30 years ago. You know what I mean? And like these clients come in and they have money, you know? So when stocks don't pay dividends, like Tesla selling a few shares here and there to you know, reinvest or go on a trip, you know, it's like a dividend. You know, like Tesla paid you 4 shares of dividend for every 1 share you have. So if you sold one of those 4 shares because you're 63 and you want to go do something fun, I'm all for that. Okay. But like the idea is, if I do my job right, I can make an investment and never sell it. So I don't have to worry. See, that's what I'm saying. I don't wake up in the morning and go, holy shit, should I sell Tesla? In fact, I'm not worried at all. I don't even spend any time on it. None, because I'm not selling Tesla, you know, I'm not selling it. So it just doesn't matter. I've seen the future. I know they'll execute. So in 5 years, whatever it's going to be worth, it's going to be worth, but I'll take my chances with Tesla. You know what I mean? So what I worry about are the companies where they're not executing as I wish. And I like the companies like Apple, but Apple's a piece of doggy doo when it comes to innovation. And they're too stuck charging everybody 30% to actually innovate anything. And, you know, now they're going to be like, oh, we're coming out with a 5G phone, which probably doesn't work. And I'm like, what innovation has Apple had? Zero, you know, $4 billion in R&D a quarter. So we sell some of our Apple, you know, and we still own a ton of it. I'm not going to sell it, I'm sure, probably ever, but it's a little more disheartening. So I have to go on Twitter and TV and like bang on Tim Cook to like buy something, you know what I mean? Or do something. But he doesn't. He's a billionaire now.
Yeah.
So I don't think about selling Tesla. I don't worry about it. What I hope is that it goes down and I can buy more.
I'm going to combine 2 questions into one. Are you investing in any downstream Tesla/Elon companies, like mining companies, or are you interested in SpaceX valuation when they go IPO? What do you think of their future?
Well, SpaceX is the U.S. space program, and I tried to get in years ago, and I couldn't, and I'm sad. But I don't think SpaceX is as good an investment as Tesla, because SpaceX's job is not necessarily to make a profit. They have a national security function. There are many areas of SpaceX that you can't even really talk about. But I'm sure it'll be a great investment. But I don't think it's set up to be like this profit streaming company. You know, it's a space company. You know, so downstream is where all the money is going to be made. So as much as I love Tesla, a lot of the money's been made. Tesla's a $400 billion company. You know, it goes to $1 trillion. It's one of the biggest companies in the world. That's only a 2x return from here. So, you know, or 3x. But like all the other companies involved with the EV vertical integration is where we're investing now. So the best way that I've found is through this ETF through Global X called LIT is the symbol, because you can't actually buy stock in LG Chem very easily, or any of these Korean companies. Like the Koreans don't let us trade on their market and crap like that. But this ETF has a combination of mining companies, chemicals, and battery cell manufacturers all in one pie. And I'm buying the hell out of this thing, because what I learned on Battery Day is that there will never be an end of demand for battery cells. There will never be an end for demand. Write this down. There will never be an end for battery cells for the rest of our lives. Okay? Did you write it down? There will never be an end. You know, so an ETF is an investment vehicle that it combines typically 10 main stock holdings in one sector or area into one investment that you can buy on the stock exchange. So like you buy, and Tesla's in this ETF. So by buying an ETF, we buy these sector ETFs. You basically are buying 10 stocks like buying one stock. That's kind of the way we look at it. So you can get access to many different companies in a certain area of investment, versus trying to just pick one or two when you're not really the expert to do that. So anytime I'm not really the expert to tell you which mining company is the best, because I don't do mining companies, like we'll buy the ETF, like buy them all. And so we know what area is going to do well. I just don't know which companies are going to be the best at that. So I buy 10 that are in the same sector. But I wanted exposure to, most importantly, LG Chem, Panasonic, SK, Samsung, I think is the other company that makes cells. And then many of the other mining and chemical companies that are part of the battery process. So it's not really about Tesla. It's about all the other companies. Where are they going to get their batteries from? Okay, because it turns out it's not going to be Tesla, because Tesla can't make enough to sell to other people. And so other people are now investing billions of dollars into battery factories and gigafactories of their own. And we want to own all the resources that they're going to need. And that's what we're doing now. It's the great battery gold rush. Look at it that way. So we're first movers in the great battery gold rush. And I'm buying everything that has to do with a battery, because everybody's going to need batteries. You're going to need batteries. You're not going to have power in Northern California. You guys are all up north. What the hell are you going to do with your houses when they keep turning it off every October when there's a fire? Just get a battery, right? And you just get a battery. And these batteries are going to become ubiquitous in parts of our world, just like a gas station or just like your air conditioning, you know, or whatever. So you get solar, you get a battery, you get a bunch of Teslas, and you don't have to worry about it.
Amen. All right, we are at the top of the hour, and I feel like we can go at least another 2 hours with you, Ross, and be fully entertained. So your wealth of knowledge is tremendous. So I just want to give you a moment for last remarks. How can we get a hold of you for those who are interested in maybe investing in your firm? Maybe a quick plug about your firm.
A quick plug. Yeah, everybody needs financial advice. That's for sure. No, you know, GerberKawasaki.com. We have no minimums. I have 25 advisors. We all, you know, manage money as a team. I think the real value of us is actually building a portfolio that suits your goal. Like whether you're the 63-year-old or you're the 35-year-old, you know, managing your money and building your finances are different, you know, things you need to do, but also taking advantage of tax advantage plans. And, you know, if you're like, I have a lot of Tesla in my IRA, you know, and boy, that's even better because, you know, then you know, it's all tax deferred and you can sell it and there's no tax, you know, consequences, things like that. So it's great to have a financial advisor. So feel free to reach out. If you know, just want to discuss your situation, and we'll see if it fits right for you. Secondly, you can follow me at GerberKawasaki.com. We put a lot of stuff on YouTube now. So if you look at our YouTube page, we're doing a lot more videos about these kind of things and live streams. So if you follow us, you'll be able to take advantage of, you know, being involved with that. And then, you know, lastly, I talk a lot, and I'm sorry. You guys talk about my favorite topic, so I can't help it. And that's why I like doing this, because, you know, you guys are all, and gals, you know, interested in something that I love and I care about. I love the beach. It's not that I love Tesla. I love the beach. And I love Tesla because they want to make my world, my kids' world, better, and they have a wonderful product to do it. So part of my motivation in life isn't just to make money, it's to use the power we have to make change for the better. And I think that's also why Tesla's mission is so important, as well as green energy, investing in clean energy. And that's one of the things we specialize in. So if you want to invest in these things, there's many different areas of investment where you can make a difference with your investments and climate and make a bunch of money over the next 10 years. I think it's the big grand theme that we need to focus on. We're also big investors in other themes like cannabis, which we think will be a huge growth market over the next 10 years. And now is the time to invest in both of those themes before the election, because after the election, there'll be enormous upside in green energy and cannabis as we get subsidies back and a government that actually wants to see these things happen. So anytime you guys want to do this again, let's schedule it. Thank you.